Hey nerds. So, I'm going to talk about my boy Slavoj Zizek, my favorite Hegelian slash Lacanian slash Marxist philosopher, who is the only Hegelian slash Lacanian slash Marxist philosopher that I know of. And he's, of course, giving his usually has bombastic opinions, but I think he's just sharing some fascinating information right here about the infamous Nazi military leader Heinrich Himmler, and how he considered himself to be a very morally upstanding person because he used like basically Indian spirituality to justify his Nazi crimes with his worship, with his basically religious justifications or excuses for his appalling Nazi atrocities, right? So we'll get into the clip here.
I was so fascinated with the figure of Heinrich Himmler, SS boss, who was formally as to form, an extremely ethical guy. Never heard it, but he organized Holocaust. And he used a terrifying
Yeah, like he had lots of power, so he had a major hand in organizing, like setting up concentration camps, mass executions, starvations, like putting babies in ovens, gas chambers, all kinds of terrifying shit like that, right?
Here. He admitted it. This is horrible. How can we, decent Germans, do this, killing Jewish children, women, not even armed, and remain decent? You know what was
That reminds me, in that book, Ordinary Men, that Jordan Peterson has mentioned before, that it reminded me of the killing babies thing, where I learned that Nazis, in order to try to save bullets, they would try to get the women to hold their child in front of them so they could kill both the mother and the child with one bullet. Isn't that fucking evil?
his answer? Oriental spiritualism. He always was carrying in his pocket a special leather copy of Bhagavad Gita.
There you go.
Where you have this idea, the king is convinced to go into battle, saying life is an appeal.
Of course, a lot of people know about that Hindu philosophy, but obviously, a lot of people also know that Robert Oppenheimer infamously said, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." That quote from the Bhagavad Gita when he first saw the results of the atomic bomb go off.
The main thing is to do your duty. And the really horrible thing, you find the same rhetoric copy of Bhagavad Gita, where you have this idea, the king is convinced to go into battle, saying life is an appearance, the main thing is to do your duty. And the really horrible thing, you find the same rhetorical trick in Stalinism with Trump today.
It's interesting, right? So you worship this god, and this god wants you to, according to the Nazi, wipe out the Jews so you can bring about utopia, right? And so he's justifying these tremendously, like, morally evil acts with his Hindu spirituality. And I like what he said at the end there too, and it's totally true. Like with Stalinism, people worship Stalin. It was a cult based on Stalin. It was certainly communism, but that's why, like, Stalinist violent communism in particular is so terrible, because it becomes religious worship of a figure rather. So it turns into a cult. And that's the same shit with Trump right now. Exactly. All the Trump sycophants worship him. He's the supreme god, supreme eternal god, emperor, Daddy Trump, who's going to destroy the world forever. And oh, please, Daddy Trump, please fix the world, and he can do no wrong. And basically, I think that seriously, with certain mega sycophants, he could rape and murder his entire, if let's say it's a guy, which it probably is, although there's certainly female Trump supporters. Let's say that he raped and murdered that guy's entire family in front of them. They would say, "Thank you, Daddy. You've gotten rid of the parasites that are making the world evil with their wokeness." That sort of shit. Anyway, yeah. The main point is, yeah, it's really fascinating, Slavoj Zizek explaining that it's darkly fascinating that Heinrich Himmler justified his Nazi crimes with hardcore Hindu spirituality from the Bhagavad Gita, and this was cult worship a basically cult worship of Hitler, because Hitler's Nazi regime was a cult also, right? So Hitler was a cult leader, and that's how Heinrich Himmler justified his crimes rather, with the Bhagavad Gita, and that also cult worship of a figure like Stalin and Trump is how it works today. So this is all basically the formula for how basically evil people justify their atrocities and feeling like they're morally good people even though they're doing morally bad things, because no one sees themselves as the bad guy, right? So they want to feel good about the terrible things that they're doing. And yeah, that's, like I said, that's just darkly fascinating. Like Slavoj Zizek says, Heinrich Himmler justified his Nazi atrocities with religion from Bhagavad Gita.